Shalom, it's your brother Makaza again. You already know what this is. This is Scripture's No Vain Opinions. I want to give all praises to the Most High through the name of His Son, calling you Negroes and indigenous back to our God, the God of Israel. Repent, for the kingdom is at hand, which true repentance is coming back to the law, statutes, and commandments, and having faith in the Messiah. Right? So, I wanted to do this for Thanksgiving, showing kind of like the origins of Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving. You know, that's what it really should be called. And a lot of people, you know, they think it's about just coming together. And stuff like that, and like it's just about family and friends. But again, any day of the year you can come together and have turkey or whatever the case is, but everyone always wants to do it at this time. And then on top of that, they err not knowing the true history. So and then on top of that, then after that you got the Black Friday, which also is synonymous of us being sold into slavery. Okay, so that all of these things compiled up show that it's a mockery, and it's disrespectful basically. Okay, so those are the kind of things that that I wanted to go into, and then also pretty much that. And another thing is, like I said, since we're in the topic, or right now is a heavy topic in who the 10 tribes are. And yes, as you've seen from my last video, that yes, I believe all Israel is Negro. And regardless of how someone looks, you still gotta admit that the Jews are all Negro. The Israelites are Negro. And I don't believe that the Mongoloid Indians and $5 Indians and Hispanics of those descendancies are Israelites. Now some could be looking like that through, like I said, through mixture. But for Israel and the chart and all of this stuff about, everybody putting the face of the 10 tribes as modern day, like I say modern days, that's false, and that's error. That's an error. Okay, so, but also I wanted to show in this lesson is also I wanted to show the people of Thanksgiving, the tribes involved, because another misconception when we talk about Thanksgiving, everybody's thinking, even though as a whole, which I showed who the people that the Spaniards and Portuguese met, people of Indians of color. But if we're talking about the Thanksgiving of the Pilgrims in the New England, you got to deal with the tribes that were involved. It wasn't all tribes in America that dealt with the so-called Thanksgiving. And on top of that, I'm going to show who they were, because again, that's another misconception that they were some Mongoloid Indians, and that's incorrect. Okay, so all things will be proven in this lesson. Okay, so I'm gonna show slavery. I'm gonna show again who they were, how they were. Even like I keep telling y'all that Indians was classified as Negroes. Okay, I'm gonna bring all of that out. Show show what they said about them. Okay, and the how they had to some of these tribes had to be classified as Negro, colored, so on and so forth. All right, so y'all just strap in, taking notes, and let's get it popping. All right, so we gonna get some scriptures real quick. So this is Colossians 2:8, and it says, "Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach." Okay, so all of these holidays in America, they all tradition of men. Christmas, all of that. Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, so on and so forth. All of these is tradition of men. Not one of those that I mentioned are in Leviticus 23 to celebrate. Okay, so even on that aspect, a lot of our people, they claim to be Christian and all of that, and then Thanksgiving, you just even Christmas, you just talking about how what you thankful for and things like that. But again, you don't pay attention to keep the Purim, and other days that we have. That yeah, we do get together. You know what I'm saying? You guys aren't quick to do the commandments of the Lord, but yeah, you quick to do the commandments of the so-called white man, Esau. Okay, so a lot of stuff has to change. All right, so the tradition of men is this holiday, that's Thanksgiving, that is disrespectful to our ancestors. Okay, because like I'm saying, we thinking that we only came over here on ships. Now a lot of us aren't Narragansett or Wampanaog, which those are certain of the tribes, PEQUOT, but we still, the tribes obviously being Israelites and all these tribes being Israel and connected, because Northern Kingdom, we be back to one stick, as the scriptures say, is still our ancestors. Okay, even if you're a Judite and yeah, your Issachar got and I'm not talking about the modern days, but Issachar, something happened, you still gonna protect your brother. You gonna protect your nation. You know what I'm saying? So this is showing the truth of the matter. All right, so let me show y'all. So if a lot of y'all are unfamiliar with these tribes, just wanted to go into a little bit about them. All right. Just wanted to go into a little bit about them. So it says, the Wampanaog, which is one of the tribes in the Thanksgiving, it says the Wampanaog, also rendered Wampanoag, are an American Indian tribe. They were a loose confederation of several tribes in the 17th century, but today Wampanoag people encompass 5 official recognized tribes: the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead in Massachusetts. All right. So just and obviously it says they in Massachusetts, also Rhode Island. The New England area. All right. It says colonists in the Massachusetts Bay area first encountered the Wampanoag, Massachusetts, Nipmuc, Pinnacook, Penobscot, Passamaquoddy, and Quinnipiac, the Mohegan, Pequot, Pocumtuck, Toonie, and Narragansett were based in southern. Okay, so just kind of like giving y'all an overview of the tribes in that area. Okay, so this is another kind of showing you. It's not even allowing me to. There we go. Okay, so as you can see on the map where a lot of the tribes was stationed. So yeah, like I brought out in my last video, which I'll bring it out again, about the New Englanders, or that's who your pilgrims would be. What they said about these natives, okay, in regards to how they look. Okay, so that's who they met. So the Wampanoag, Narragansett, Pequot. Okay, so all right, so this is what I found. Also, Wampanoag Indians. Okay, so as we're going to talk about King Philip as well, but it says, many Indians sent to Deer Island, and some were sold as slaves in the West Indies. Okay, listen to this. It says, many placed on reservations called plantations. So yeah, the plantations are the reservations. Like, again, a lot of people thinking that living in the hood, in the ghettos, and the slums ain't a plantation, or ain't a reservation. Okay, and it's a lot deeper that why the so-called Negro is not in the quote-unquote reservation. All right. But as you can see, it says many placed on reservation called plantation. All right. So, and during the King Philip War, you had some of the Pequot, they aligned themselves or allied themselves with the colonists at the time, which we'll get into that a little later. Um, so like I said, you had the Wampanoag, the Narragansett. These are the main two I'm a touch into. But those are the main ones involved in the Thanksgiving, as well as the Pequot. All right, so that's just the overview. So it's gonna be a lot of reading. I'm gonna try to speed some of it up, because I had a few sites that I wanted to go into, so y'all can kind of get an overview of what happened. All right, so matter of fact, I'll start at this one. Okay, so this is the vicious reality behind the Thanksgiving myth. All right, so and I mean that's the source. All right, so as you can see, these are fake image. Like I said, these are the fake images. This is what everyone paints an Indian or a Native American as. Which, like I said, I don't even like the term Native, because anybody that's born in America can be a Native. Okay, so I don't even like that term. That's why I'm saying Indian, which Indios, people of God, people of the Most High, which is what Indian meant, and or Aboriginal. You know what I'm saying? Those are the terms I use. But yeah, like I said, we gonna show who the real ones are, and other facts of the Thanksgiving. So it says, generations of Americans have told themselves a patriotic story of the supposed first Thanksgiving that misrepresents colonization and consensual and bloodless. So that's the norm, that Thanksgiving, it was all friendly. You know what I'm saying? That nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? It was all love, basically. The story goes like this: English pilgrims crammed aboard the Mayflower and braved the stormy Atlantic to seek religious freedom in America. They disembarked at Plymouth Rock and entered howling wilderness equipped with their proto-constitution, the Mayflower Compact, and the confidence that they are God's chosen people. Which, again, they lying. Okay, the so-called white man coming over here as Christians and things like that, Puritans. They wasn't. Obviously, we know that that's how the so-called white man acts today. He think he the chosen, but he's not. Okay, yet sickness and starvation held their pollution during the first winter and challenges their faith. Meanwhile, the neighboring Indians, rarely identified by tribe, with whom the English desperately wished to trade for food, kept a wary distance. Just when Plymouth seems destined to become another lost colony, miraculously, the natives made contact through the interpreters Samoset and Squanto. The story sidesteps how these figures learned English, which I have another source, because I'm gonna deal with, because King Philip is Squanto, so I'm gonna show a little bit about him as well after I read this in another article. But it says the Shechem or chief, it said, nor does it explain why the Indians suddenly became so friendly. It says the Shechem or chief Usamkin, whom the English know from his title as Maswat, even agrees to a treaty of alliance with Plymouth. Over the spring and summer, the Indians fed the pilgrims and them how to plant corn. The colony begins to thrive. In the fall, the two parties seal their friendship with the first Thanksgiving. The subsequent 50-year peace allows colonial New England and colonial New England and by extension the United States to become a cradle of freedom, democracy, Christianity, and plenty. Okay, so going back to what I've shown before in the last videos, I've shown how we was converted to Christianity. Okay, indigenous people were converted to Christianity. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Okay, so now it says, as for what happens to the Indians next, this story has nothing to say. Okay, so that's the norm, that everything was all love. Matter of fact, I'll bring that out in a minute. But Psalms 55. Alright, so hold on. So it says, as for what happens to the Indians next, this story has nothing to say. The Indians' legacy is to present America as a gift to white people, or in other words, to concede to colonialism. Like Pocahontas and Sacagawea, the other famous Indians are of American history. They helped the colonizers and then move off stage. The Wampanoags, who are the Indians in this tale, have long contended that the Thanksgiving myth sugarcoats the viciousness of colonial history for Native people. It does. The Pilgrims did not enter an empty wilderness ripe for the taking. Human civilization in the Americas was every bit as ancient and rich as in Europe. That is why Wampanoag country was full of villages, roads, cornfields, monuments, cemeteries, and forests cleared of underbrush. Generations of native people had made it that way with the expectation of passing along their land to their descendants. Okay, so and also I want to add this in there as far as the roads, villages, stuff like that, because like I said, everybody thinking that all Negroes have came to America from slavery, which as I've shown before, and I'll say this again, that you had Indians that were shipped to Africa, and it's not far-fetched that they were shipped back. So even like I'm saying, you had Indians that were shipped to Africa, shipped back. Some stayed out in Africa, Europe, you know what I'm saying? But those that shipped back already knew the land as well. So, again, us slave, the plantations, building, all of these stuff that we have built in America, we already knew the land. Okay, so it's not far-fetched. It's not, just some random people from Africa came and they colonized on a land they had no knowledge of. No, we knew of this land. Okay, so that's why I'm saying you men have to think. You have to think. Okay, so you guys thinking that only 3 black tribes and they just came from Africa, they didn't know anything. Okay, we was all over Europe. We knew everything about Europe. And then again, how we know that you had Israelites that came to the Americas, spoke with Indians. Why? Because they knew about here, they knew the people they was talking to, you know what I'm saying, so on and so forth. Okay, so but showing you that but in that aspect of just like, for instance, Harriet Tubman. How did Harriet Tubman was able to escape and know things about the land if she was just from Africa and she, you know what I'm saying? So it go deeper. But that was a side note to kind of make y'all think about that. But it says, contrary to the Thanksgiving myth, the Pilgrim Wampanoag encounter was no first contact meeting. Rather, it followed a string of bloody episodes since 1524 in which European explorers seized coastal Wampanoags to be sold into overseas slavery or to be trained as interpreters and guides. The Wampanoags reached out to the Pilgrims not only despite this violent history, but also partly because of it. Okay, so it says in 1616 a European ship conveyed an epidemic disease to the Wampanoags that over the next 3 years took a staggering toll on their population. Okay, so yeah, we would have disease and things like that. Facing all type of diseases. Okay, afterward, and matter of fact, let me show y'all something, cause this was off the top. Cause I don't think anybody ever really noticed this. Where is it at? Here it is. Okay, so it says this is one of the slave signs, but it says to be sold on board the ship on Tuesday the 6th May next at I think it's at Ashley Ferry, a choice cargo about 250 fine healthy Negroes just arrived from the Windward and Roach Coast. The utmost care has already been taken and shall be continued to keep them free from the lean danger of being infected with the smallpox, no boat having been on board, and all other communication with people from Charlestown prevented. Full one half of the above Negroes had the smallpox in their own country. Okay, so the smallpox. So as you can see, and then another thing a lot of people don't understand is I showed countless images in the last video of Indians with feathers. That was the attire that they were in. Matter of fact, I could just show y'all again. Show y'all. Matter of fact, I will show real quick here. So this was the Aztecs meeting Cortez, but just showing y'all the feathers. Like, y'all can't deny, you can't deny this. Okay, so here it is on the slave, for sale slave. They wearing the same things, but yet here the Aztecs wearing the same things. Okay, feathered crown. All right. Okay, so, and we know the Aztecs, unless somebody gonna lie and say those was Africans, you know what I'm saying? No, those are the Aztecs. But smallpox. So this is a sign showing, that the smallpox and those kind of diseases. That was just a side note. All right. So let me see. Okay, so afterward, the Narragansett tribe to the west began raiding the Wampanoags. To answer this threat, Kus Usakim wanted the English to serve the Wampanoags both as military allies and as a source of European weaponry. His use of Squanto as a go-between with the Plymouth settlers also stemmed from the Wampanoags' history of being raided by Europeans. Squanto knew English because he had spent years in captivity in Spain and England before orchestrating an unlikely return home shortly before the Mayflower arrival. Such dark themes are hardly the stuff American grade school Thanksgiving pageant. So yeah, you're not gonna hear that in the school. Okay, they're not gonna go over stuff like this about the reality of what happened. Okay, so yes, but showing that Squanto, he was shipped to Spain and England to learn English. Okay, and want to say this as well, also, because this was during the 1600s. Okay, so again, where they claim that, which I teach that the slavery for Africa, really, you had it start. I believe it started earlier than that, but as I brought out in the video in times past about the Moranos and Ladinos, how you had those Jews that were shipped. They was first shipped from Spain to the Caribbean. Okay, and then you had a lot of Jews that were shipped to Africa. You know what I'm saying? But you had Indians. Here it is. You had, because Squanto was born in the 1600s. Okay, so which also saying that cuts a lot of people that you might, because I remember this one guy was trying to say an image I showed, because an image of Indians by the French was shown in the 1800s. That means that it wasn't authentic, whereas you had the French that enslaved indigenous people in the 1700s. Okay, so of course they knew who they had captive. Okay, so Squanto being shipped in 1600s, and yet prior to that, again, you still had Indians, Tainos, so on and so forth, that was shipped to Spain as well. Okay, where they were what, classified as Negro. All right, so okay, so let me see. So it says the Thanksgiving myth also sanitizes the power politics of the Pilgrim Wampanoag alliance. For years afterward, Usaquin threatened rivals in and outside the Wampanoag tribe with violence from his English allies. So you had some of the tribes that was dealing with the so-called white man. Tribes was beefing amongst each other. Okay, and it said such intimidation played a far more important role in the Wampanoag's alliance with alliance with Plymouth than the first Thanksgiving. Okay, it says, and the myth distorts history by highlighting the alliance while ignoring its deterioration. After Usaquin's death in 1660, the English and the Wampanoags constantly titerated on the edge of war because the colonists' aggressive, underhanded expansion. These tensions accumulated in King Philip's War of 1675-76, in which the English killed thousands of native people, including Usaquin's son, Pumecum, and enslaved thousands more. So a lot of them went into slavery, and I'm gonna get into where a lot of the Wampanoags, Narragansett, where they went into slavery. Okay, and it says Plymouth and Massachusetts celebrated their bloody victory with a day of Thanksgiving. If Americans continue to insist on associating Thanksgiving with Pilgrims and Indians, the least we can do is try to get the story straight. And that's another thing while I'm trying to get, because we can talk about the Thanksgiving, but you got to put the right face on the right people. Okay, so it was black people, Negroes, that went through this. All right. So again, because I get tired of these guys talking about, oh, we went into slavery before Judah, like as if you trying to make accountability, but it's not even. And I'm talking to a lot of these so-called Hispanics that think that they're the real Indian. You know what I'm saying? With no Negro feature, no Negro parents, no Negro nothing. Most could be Spaniards. You know what I'm saying? It's not all about looks, but again, it's for truth's sake. But my thing is, because a lot of them have been getting slick, especially with this Canaanite doctrine. You know what I'm saying? And it's stopping right here. All type of brothers and sisters is waking up to the chart and to the reality of who are the 10 tribes and who are the actual people. Okay, because I just put even going back to my David Rubini lesson. David Rubini, he was said that he was from the tribe of Reuben, at that time, and he was it's told that he was Negro-like, dark skinned, and he was helping other black Jews. So again, you had Northern Kingdom still around that area. Okay, and now I'm showing y'all who the real Northern Kingdom here. Even though through mixing, which I'm gonna show all of that, but Salakia. But yeah, like I said, for y'all that y'all just kick back, because I mean, I'm just going with the spirit of this knowledge. It might be a long lesson, okay, but everything I'm giving you is factual, and it's something y'all can grow with. Okay, so because this is about Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, but it's also, like, again, more history into showing that, or showing who the native people are. Okay, when we have these debates about who the 10 tribes are, and so on and so forth, because yes, there's still, like I've been saying, there's still people of color to this day. They didn't be mixed off and to be unrecognizable. All right, so it says the challenges are undoubtedly spark. The Native American past and present tend to make white people uncomfortable because they turn patriotic histories and heroes inside out and loosen claims on morality, authority, and justice. They threaten to tear down monuments and rename buildings. Okay, like, yeah, Esau, he'll get mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the script? They name lands after their own names. Okay, rename buildings. Okay, but confronting the dark history of colonialism in Indian country also promises to shed light, cultivate national unity, and most important, signal to Native people that the country values them. Okay. As one gracious Aquina Wampanaog elder once told me, we do ourselves no good by hiding from the truth. I think she was talking about all of us. Okay, so that was just one of the sources. So this was on the PEQUOT. In fact, hold on. Okay, so this is the other source. So, like I said, so that was like mainly talking about the Wampanoags, and the next two is gonna also bring into play the Narragansett and the PEQUOT. All right, so this is the true story behind Thanksgiving. Is a blood struggle that decimated the population and ended with the head on a stick. All right, so it says in the U.S., Thanksgiving is a time for family parades, lots of delicious food, and oftentimes intense scenarios. American children are usually taught the tradition dates back to the Pilgrims, English religious dissenters who helped to establish the Plymouth colony in present-day Massachusetts in 1620. As the story goes, friendly local Native Americans swooped in to teach the struggling colonists how to survive in the New World. Then everyone got together to celebrate with a feast in 1621. Attendees included at least 90 men from the Wampanoag tribe and the 50 or so surviving Mayflower passengers, according to Time. The bash lasted 3 days and featured a menu including deer, fowl, and corn, according to the Smithsonian magazine. In reality, Thanksgiving feasts predate Plymouth. You'll even find a number of localities have vowed to claim the first Thanksgiving for themselves. Settlers in Berkeley Hundred in Virginia decided to celebrate their arrival with an annual Thanksgiving back in 1619. Although the Washington reported the meal was probably little more than some oysters and ham thrown together, and decades before that, Spanish settlers had members of the Seloy tribe broke bread with salted pork, bonzo beans, and a mass in 1565 Florida. And I have a source that shows how the Spanish had brought like pork in. Uh, they pretty much had brought like the pig and things like that over here. Um, so it says our modern definition of Thanksgiving revolves around eating turkey, but in past centuries it was more of an occasion for religious observance. The storied 1621 Plymouth festivities live on in popular memory, but the pilgrims themselves would have likely considered their sober 1623 day of prayer the first true Thanksgiving, according to the blog The History of Massachusetts. Others pinpoint 1637 as the true origin of Thanksgiving, owing to the fact Massachusetts colony Governor John Winthrop declared a day of Thanksgiving to celebrate colonial soldiers who had just slaughtered 700 Pequot men, women, and children in what is now Mystic, Connecticut. Okay, so they slaughtered 700 Pequot women and children. Okay, so like the scriptures say, him that showed no mercy, he'll get no mercy. Okay, so verse 13, James 2 and 13, for he shall have judgment without mercy that have shown no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. Okay, so all them, the so-called white man that has shown no mercy even to this day to our nation. Okay, he hasn't shown any type of mercy. Okay, so even the court system, everything. Okay, he giving everybody slaps on the wrist. After unjustly killing us, all the lynchings that we went through. No one and murders, and back in the day, no one has still been really punished for those things. Okay, but yeah, if we mess up, there's no leniency. It's right in jail. You know what I'm saying? Right, getting locked up. Right, you fired, or anything like that. The so-called white man has not shown mercy to our nation. Okay, so matter of fact, so I didn't have this scripture written down, so okay, yeah, so yeah, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. Okay, so and that's what happened. Okay, they didn't show no type of favor. Okay, after we helped them, and show love. Okay. So it says, either way, the popular telling of the initial harvest festival is what lived on, thanks to Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so Abe Lincoln. A lot of people think he wanted to free the slaves and all of that, but he wasn't with it. Okay, when you really go in depth and research, it says the enduring holiday has also nearly erased from our collective memory what happened between the Wampanoag and the English generations later. Alright, so it says Meswat, the Shechem or paramount chief of the Wampanoag, proved to be a critical ally to the English settlers in the years following the establishment of Plymouth. He set up an exclusive trade pact with the newcomers and allied with them against the French and other local tribes like the Narragansett and Massachusetts. Okay, so like I said, they was going at each other. However, the alliance became strained over time. So because you can't trust the so-called white man. Okay, so you can't trust a so-called white man, and it's been proven. All right, it's been proven. Okay, so yeah, like it says, yeah, Psalms 55. Okay, so he hath put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Okay, so I mean, it's self-explanatory that uh, that's what happened. All right, it says thousands of English colonists poured into the region throughout the 17th century, according to historical contact. Indian people and colonists in today's northeastern United States. Authorities in Plymouth began asserting control over most aspects of Wampanoag life as settlers increasingly ate up more land. The Gender Lerman Institute of American History estimated disease had already reduced the Native American population in New England by as much as 90% from 1616 to 1619, and indigenous people continue to die from what the colonists called Indian fever. Alright, so it says, by the time Massasoit son Metacomet, known to the English as King Philip, inherited leadership relations had frayed, King Philip's war was sparked when several of Metacomet's men were executed for the murder of PEQUOT interpreter and Christian converter John Sansamon. Wampanoag warriors responded by embarking on a series of raids, and the New England Confederation of Colonies declared war in 1675. The initial neutral colony of Rhode Island and Providence plantations, so here go that word plantation again, was ultimately dragged into the fighting, as were other nearby tribes like the Narragansett. Okay, so the Narragansett came into the picture. The war was bloody and devastating. Springfield, Massachusetts was burned to the ground. The Wampanoag abducted colonists for ransom. English forces attacked the Narragansett on a bitter frozen swamp for harboring fleeing Wampanoag. So they was beefing, and then here it is, they came together. Okay, so yeah, just showing you that they came together in one goal to come against their common enemy. Because 600 Narragansett were killed, and the tribe's winter storms were ruined, according to Atlas Obscura. Colonists in far-flung settlements relocated to more fortified areas, while the Wampanoag and allied tribes were forced to flee their villages. Okay, yeah, just showing you that image. Okay, so it says the colonists ultimately allied with several tribes like the Michigans and Pequots, despite initial reluctance from the Plymouth leadership. Okay, which the next thing I'm gonna read is the reason why, again, now why the Pequot had to ally with them is because they was killed. Because we just showed you that 700 of the Pequot, they had been murdered. Okay. Meanwhile, Metacomet was dealt a staggering blow when he crossed over into New York to recruit allies. Instead, he was rebuffed and attacked by Mohawks. Upon his return to his ancestral home at Mount Hope, he was shot and killed in a final battle. The son of the man who had sustained celebrated with the Plymouth colony was then beheaded and dismembered, according to it happened in Rhode Island. His remaining allies were killed or sold into slavery into the West Indies. Okay, and I show also in the other one how what people of the West Indies look like. Okay, then I'm gonna show where these tribes went into slavery. The colonists impaled King Philip's head on a spike and displayed it in Plymouth for 25 years. So that's wicked. Okay, so just showing you the disrespect of yeah, the so-called white man. Again, these people, yeah, pure, like I said, Puritans claiming they're Christians and things like that. You know, so and yeah, when I'm at work, it's like, yeah, people here left, happy Thanksgiving, happy, you know what I'm saying? It's like you can't really say nothing, especially if it's coming from Esau. So it's like, this kind of disrespect, but you guys is thinking that it's all about family when it's basically about bloodshed. All right, so yeah, so that was pretty much the point that I wanted to get. Um, okay, so let me read this last one. Um, Okay, so it says, as we again plan to celebrate what U.S. Americans call Thanksgiving, let us pause for a moment of reflection. Let us recognize that accounts of the first Thanksgiving are mythological and that the holiday is actually a grotesque. So basically, it happened, but the way it's told that, it was all nice and that's mythological. The reality of it is what we're reading. Okay, and what this article, this article is going to go into. It says grotesque celebration of our arrogant ethnocentrism built on genocide. Native Americans in the Caribbean greeted their 1492 European invaders with warm hospitality. Okay, and like I said, I already showed who the real people were of the Caribbean. Okay, they were so innocent that Christopher Colombo wrote in his log, which that's referring to Columbus. They willingly traded everything they owned. They do not bear arms. They would make fine servants. They could easily be made Christians. Okay, with 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. Okay, this meeting set in motion a 500-year plunder of the Western Hemisphere, which then spread to the remainder of the globe, and it has not stopped. Okay, so I'm gonna go down to the point, but it says jump 129 years to 1621, year of the supposed first Thanksgiving. There is not much documentation of that event, apparently a 3-day feast, but surviving Indians do not trust the myth. Natives were already dying like flies thanks to European-born diseases. The PEQUOT tribe in today's Connecticut reportedly numbered 8,000 when the Pilgrims arrived, but disease had reduced their population to 1,500 by 1637. Okay, when the first official proclaimed all Pilgrim Thanksgiving took place. At the feast, the whites of New England celebrated their massacre of the Pequots in the Connecticut Valley, where the Mystic River meets the sea. Okay, so yeah, again, them fighting against Pequot, Wampanoag, and the Narragansett. All right, the Indians were in fact celebrating their annual green corn dance ceremony, but it was to be their last. William Bradford, the former governor of Plymouth and one of the chroniclers of the supposed 1621 feast, was on hand for the unspeakable massacre of 1637. Okay, so he described so he said he described it thus in History of the Plymouth Plantation. Those that escaped the fire were slain with the sword. Some hewed to pieces. Others run through with their that word be. Let me see. I know it's a sword. I'm trying to see how to pronounce it the right way though.
Rapier.
So rapier. All right. So rapiers. So that they were quickly dispatched and very few escaped. It was a fearful sight to see them thus frying the fire, horrible, horrible with the stink and scent thereof. But the victory seemed a sweet sacrifice that they gave praise thereof to the Most High, who had wrought so wonderfully for them, thus to enclose their enemies in their hand and gave them so speedy a victory. Okay, so and that remind me of Zechariah 11. Okay, it says this is Zechariah 11:5. It says, "Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty." Okay, so and that's what we going through right now. Our possessors slay us. They hold themselves not guilty. Like you said, they get out. You know, they commit all type of murders, but yeah, no one's found guilty. But it says, and they that sell them say, "Blessed be the Most High." So that's what it said. Blessed be the Most High, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. Cause so they were giving praise to the Most High for this that they did. Okay, so okay, it says that right here. It says the English commander John Manson declared that the attack against the Pequot was the act of the Most High, who laughed his enemies and the enemies of his people to scorn, making the Pequot as a fiery oven. Thus did the Lord judge among the heathen. Couldn't see that part right there. Um, the mystic with dead bodies, Narragansett and Mohan warriors with the English were horrified by the actions and manner of the Englishmen's fight, because it was too furious and slays too many men. And Narragansett returned home and no longer participated to the war. Cause so yeah, so they didn't want to kill their brothers basically. All right, so it says the rest of the white folks thought so too. This day fourth shall be a day of celebration and thanksgiving for subduing the Pequots. Read Massachusetts Bay Governor John Winthrop's proclamation. The authentic proclaimed Thanksgiving Day was born. Few Pequots survived. Most historians believe about 700 Pequots were slaughtered at Mystique. Many prisoners were executed, and surviving women and children sold into slavery into the West Indies. So again, keep saying West Indies. Everyone's being sold to the West Indies. Pequot prisoners that escaped execution were parceled out to Indian tribes aligned. So it said Pequot prisoners that escaped execution were parceled out to Indian tribes aligned with the English. The Pequot were thought to have been extinct as a people. Okay, so basically, yeah, other Pequots were eventually, yeah, they had to align with the so-called white man, because I mean they had no other choice basically. Okay, so all right, so let me read this.